Hi, and welcome back to English Lessons with Stephanie. This is Writing and Vocabulary Lesson 15. Here is our vocabulary for this lesson. Our first words are not really words, but prefixes. Remember that a prefix is part of a word that comes before another word. Here we have the set pre and post. Pre means before, like prepare is for example, prepare is to get something ready before. Prevent is to stop something before it happens. Preview is to see something before. And predict means to say what will happen before it happens, like we predict with our reading. Post, like our reading, post-vaccination, means after. So after vaccination would be post-vaccination. Postpone is to do something later. Post-game means after a game, usually in sports. And post-season means after a season. So again, when you're looking at words and you don't know what they mean, if you see parts of words that you understand, like pre and post, this can help you to understand what something means. Our first word is vaccine. Now, vaccine and vaccination are both nouns. A vaccine is the stuff that we take in order to prevent getting sick. And vaccination is the action of receiving a vaccine. So these are both countable nouns. The verb is vaccinate, and that's a transitive verb. We have to vaccinate people. And the adjective form is vaccinated. So if you have received a vaccine, then you are vaccinated. So we said in the reading, here in the US, it's been an exciting time as more and more people get vaccinated against COVID-19. They're all receiving vaccines. In the second example, it says, I get a flu vaccine every fall. And in the last example, it says they were vaccinating more than 1 million people every day. That's our verb form in the past progressive tense. So right now, there are several different vaccines available against COVID-19, and every country is trying to vaccinate its people. Our next word is restriction. Restriction is a rule or prohibition. It means it's saying something you cannot do. In the reading, we said, with pandemic restrictions easing up, people are making plans to do all the things they haven't done during the past year. That means during the pandemic, we had many restrictions. There were many things we couldn't do. And now that we can do them, we're making more plans. In the second example, we have the verb form. Many countries have restricted travel during the pandemic. That means they have made limitations and rules about travel. And in the third example, we have the adjective form. This is a restricted area you cannot enter. Now, we have two adjective forms, restrictive and restricted. Restrictive is the person or rule who's telling you you cannot do things. And restricted is the effect. So we are restricted by restrictive rules. Next, we have a phrase, make plans. Make plans is made of the verb make, which is a transitive verb, and the noun plan, in the plural form, to make plans. Make plans means to have an idea for something in the future. We use this phrase when we're thinking of something we might do in the future, or something we want to do. In the reading, we said, with pandemic restrictions easing up, people are making plans to do all the things they haven't done during the past year. So when you make plans, you could be saying you want to see a friend. You could be saying you want to take a vacation. These are social things. You can also say you're making plans to do something with your business or with your studies. Making plans is just having any idea for something you want to do in the future. And it can be formal or informal. In our second example, we say, should we make plans for Friday now or should we decide later? This could be in a conversation you're having with a friend. And in our last example, it says, we made a plan to study together this weekend. This is the singular form of making one single plan. So instead of making many plans, it's just one plan, one idea. And here we use the past tense of make, which is made. Next, we have another phrase that uses the same verb make, but this is make sure. So sure means certain or correct. And make sure means we are trying to know something is correct or right or true. In the reading, I said, my friend drove across the country in order to make sure that he didn't inadvertently pick up any virus on the long flight. My friend was being very careful to not get sick on the flight. He was trying to do his best to make sure that he didn't make anyone else sick. The second example says, can you make sure all the children wash their hands? This means you're not just going to say to the children, wash your hands, and then walk away. This means you're going to watch each child and really see that each child washes his or her hands. That's how you make sure. The last example says, the library might not be open on Sunday. I'll call to make sure. So here we have make sure as an intransitive verb with no object behind it. Here, you think the library is open, but you're going to call just to be 100% right, to know that you're going to be right and to not leave anything to chance. The first two examples, we have make sure as a transitive verb. There is a full sentence behind make sure. So make sure he didn't do this. Make sure all the children wash their hands. And in the last example, we have make sure as an intransitive verb. Our next word is an adjective, local. Local means near the area. In the reading, I said, my other family members have taken local trips this past year. That means they've gone places, but all near where we live. They haven't gone very far. They didn't get on an airplane, etc. The second example says, whenever I travel, I like to try all the local food. That means when I go to a different country or a different city, I want to try the food that's made near that area. So whatever people there like to eat. And in the last example, all the fruit in this market is grown locally. So here we have the adverb form, locally. Our next word is adventure. Adventure is a countable noun that means a new experience that usually involves going somewhere. In the reading, I said, we're really looking forward to all of these adventures after a long year at home. The second example uses adventurous as an adjective. My cousin is quite adventurous. She likes to try all kinds of new things. And the third example uses the noun form again. Our trip to Antarctica was an amazing adventure. Sometimes we can see adventure used as a verb, which means to go on an adventure. Like she adventured all around the world, but it's more commonly used as a noun. Our next word is the verb invite. Invite is a transitive verb that means to ask someone to go to a place or an event. In the reading, I said, maybe we'll have a party and invite all of our friends. That means we're asking all of our friends to come to this party. The second example uses invitation, the noun. The couple will send out invitations to their wedding soon. That means they're going to tell people to come to their wedding soon. And the third example uses the adjective form inviting. This hotel is so inviting. It's so comfortable that I want to stay a few extra days. Inviting means a place makes you want to go there or to stay there. The adjective invited, with ed, invited, that means that you have been asked to go somewhere. Like you could say, I am an invited guest to this party. Now notice that when we use the verb invite, we have to invite someone. It's a transitive verb. And then if we follow it with an event, we use the preposition to. So I invite you to a party, or I invite my sister to lunch. We can also put a verb after it, like I invite you to go to lunch, or I invite you to attend this party. And that leads me to our next verb, which is attend. So attend is the verb that means to go to or participate in an event. So if I invite you to go somewhere and you say yes, then this means you will attend. In the reading, I said, my daughter will get to attend her first birthday parties. That means she'll go to her first birthday parties. Or in the second example, this is from class 14 on education. I said, while public school is free to attend, students are expected to pay for their own school supplies. So here, attending is the verb we use for school. You attend school. And the third example shows attendance used as a non-count noun. Attendance is the action of attending something, the action of being or going somewhere. Attendance at the meeting is mandatory. All workers must be there. And attendees, the other form of the noun, are the people who attend events. Next, we have the phrase extended family. Now, family is our non-count noun, and the word in front of it, extended, is an adjective. Extended is the adjective form of the verb extend, which means to make something bigger or longer. And that's because extended family means our larger family. This is family other than our parents or our brothers and sisters or our kids. So extended family would be our aunts, our uncles, our cousins, our in-laws, our grandparents, and maybe grandchildren. In the reading we said, I hope that this year we'll celebrate with more of our extended family, aunts and uncles and cousins and in-laws that we haven't seen in over a year. The second example says, some of my extended family live in Singapore. And the third example says, are you close with your extended family? And close here means like, are you friends with them? Do you see them often? Do you like being with them? The opposite of extended family is immediate family. So your parents and your brother and your sister and your kids, that's your immediate family. So in case you don't know what in-laws are, an in-law is a person who is related to you by marriage. So commonly, we'll say like my mother-in-law. So we have many types of in-laws. And commonly we say mother-in-law. That is the mother of your husband or wife. Sister-in-law, brother-in-law. These could be the sisters or brothers of your husband or wife, or they could be the husbands and wives of your sisters and brothers. But we use the same words for them. And then daughter-in-law and son-in-law. If your son or daughter marries someone else, then that person is your daughter-in-law or your son-in-law. When we want to make this plural, we say in-laws, but unless we're using these specific terms like mother-in-law, we would say mothers-in-law. So in the last example, I said, I get along well with my sisters-in-law. I have 3 sisters-in-law. One is the sister of my husband, and the other 2 are the wives of my brothers. Next, we have the word indoor, indoors, and the opposites, outdoor and outdoors. So indoor means inside a building, and outdoor means outside a building. And we'll use the adjective form when we're describing a thing, like in our second example. My school has an indoor pool. So indoor is an adjective describing the noun pool. We'll use the adverb form indoors with an S at the end when we're describing an action. So in the first example, I'm excited about eating indoors. We're describing where we're going to eat. Or the last example, I love camping and sleeping outdoors. Next, we have the noun stranger. A stranger is a person who you don't know. In the reading, we said, I'm excited about eating indoors in a noisy restaurant surrounded by strangers. So surrounded by means around you. And there are strangers, people you don't know. The second example uses the adjective form. What's that strange sound? Here, a strange sound means a sound that you don't know. You're not sure what that sound is. Or a strange woman asked me for the time. So the strange woman, this can mean 2 different things. It can mean the woman is weird. Strange can also mean weird, or it can mean unfamiliar to you. You don't know. Next, we have the phrase a long road. This means a process, that means an action that will take time and effort. In the reading, I said, it's going to be a long road back to normal, but I hope we are slowly getting there. That means that getting life normal again after the pandemic, after coronavirus, is going to take a lot of time and effort. It's not just going to happen tonight. The second example says, it's a long road to the top. This is a common expression that means to become successful, the top, will take a lot of time and effort. Again, it's not something that will just happen suddenly. Or similarly, in the third example, it's a long road to become a doctor. Now we have the first of our phrasal verbs. The first phrasal verb is ease up. Ease up means to become less difficult or serious. You might recognize ease up because ease looks like the adjective easy, right? Easy means not hard, not difficult. In the reading, we said, with pandemic restrictions easing up, people are making plans to do all these things. Now, when restrictions are easing up, that means these rules, these restrictions, are becoming less serious. So, for example, now people can eat indoors, or they can go to bigger parties, and they can see more of their friends. And before, we weren't supposed to do that. In our second example, it says, we'll leave when the rain eases up. So maybe it's raining really hard and you want to wait to leave until the rain is not as bad. And in the third example, could you ease up on me? I'm having a hard day. So this would be something you could say to someone if they are being very harsh with you, being difficult. Maybe they're yelling at you or asking you to do a lot of things, and you just can't do it. You ask them to be easier with you. Our next phrasal verb is pick up, which is a separable transitive verb. And pick up is a very common phrasal verb that means to get or acquire something. So in the reading, we said, my friend drove across the country in order to make sure that he didn't inadvertently pick up any virus on the long flight. That means he didn't want to get sick. He didn't want to get the virus. In the second example, it says, I've got a cold. I must have picked it up at school. Now notice in the second sentence here, we have to separate picked and up with the pronoun it. It is the cold, because this is a separable phrasal verb. And in the last example, I need to pick up some milk at the store. That means I need to get some milk. So you can see here that pick up will be used in a lot of situations. And our last phrasal verb is meet up. And meet up is a non-separable, intransitive phrasal verb that means the same as to meet or to see someone. And so meeting and meeting up is the same thing, but meet up is a little bit less formal and very commonly used when we're speaking. In the reading, I said, next weekend we'll take a road trip to meet up with some friends for a few nights camping. The second example says, what time should we meet up on Friday? And this is what you would say if you're trying to make plans with someone. The last example uses the past tense of meet, which is met. I met up with an old friend last night. That means you saw them. The noun form of meet up is meet up as one word, and it's a countable noun. So it's less formal than a meeting. So if you said, I had a meet up with a friend, that just means maybe you met for coffee or maybe you went for a walk. You would not say that with a group of businessmen. If a group of businessmen meet up, they have a meeting. They don't have a meetup. Okay, so that's our vocabulary for this class. To practice, you should write a sentence using each new vocabulary word. You should also try to summarize the week's reading in 1 or 2 sentences. And then you can answer these questions. Do you have many restrictions in your local area? What are they? And what will you do when the restrictions ease up? So if you're enjoying these free lessons, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.